And Chuck yells out, Ben. And I'm like, wow, really?
I gotta go.
Yeah, I think I should too, actually. Uh, no, I got to see Jared James Nichols last night.
Oh,
Ah,
nice.
Oh my God, can that man play? Holy cow!
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you know this. The fascinating thing is he's one of the very few guitarists I've ever seen that plays with his fingers.
Yeah,
No
he's all
pick.
finger style.
Yeah, no pick, no pick. But great stage presence, just and dynamite power trio he's put together. It was a blast.
Yep. Yep. Waukesha County, Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, he uh born was grew up not far from Les Paul.
Did not know that. Did not know that. Yeah, it was. If have you seen him?
Unfortunately, I did not have the chance when he was here last.
Okay, if you get the chance, trust me,
Oh yeah.
Miss a Mac Voices live or an In Touch with iOS is well worth it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen the videos.
Yeah, yeah, and just a really nice guy too. I talked to him after the show, and just super personal. Just looks like he's enjoying,
Oh yeah.
the whole lifestyle thing. So
Oh yeah. I mean, he would be doing what he's doing if he wasn't making money off of it.
yeah, I think I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm trying to get up and running here.
You're fine because I'm still doing social media here.
Yeah, I've got certain tracks stuck in my head today. Oh, there it is. My God, yes, we are live. It's frightening.
It is.
I am for the first time getting a chance to look at the show notes for tonight.
Okay.
And
I also noticed the show notes for tomorrow morning.
right. Yeah.
Mhm. At least David's Google Drive stuff isn't missing. That's something. The show notes wouldn't have been for we'd had to cancel both shows.
And Apple Card too.
Right.
Oh, now we're on the record.
We are.
Mhm.
Hey, Webb's in the chat. How you doing, Webb?
All right.
Oh,
Web,
hey,
hey.
oh, I knew I
Web.
forgot to do something.
What? Give Web a hug?
That's it is important.
I mean, he may need one. His team got flexed from Monday Night Football.
They did?
Yeah,
They're doing Sunday night football.
yeah, they're going to be doing Eagles Seahawks instead of the Chiefs.
Oh, on Monday night.
Yes.
Yeah, so they moved them to the Sunday night game.
Huh.
The Chiefs and Packers. So Brian will be happy. Brian Flanagan's Arthur will be happy about that.
I have this vision of Webb curled up on one of his wife's quilts, just nice and comfortable.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. And this then just as soon as he's comfortable, she gives it away.
That's right.
We love you, Webb. We're sorry. We shouldn't be picking on.
We do love you, Webb.
Oh man.
All right. I think I'm ready here. And got here. Yep. I'm ready. You guys ready?
No. When did that ever stop us?
That's true.
Yeah.
So ready.
Pick, everything's recording. Everything looks spectacular. All right, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 282 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week, he's back, Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm good, David. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for asking me, as always.
Absolutely love having you here, as well as Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. I'm happy to see all three of you. And
Yes.
because of the way my schedule has worked out this week, this is the first time this week I've been able to see all three of you at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So that makes tonight a special night for me.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And glad as well as Ben Rathick is here. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing good, or Dave.
You're practicing for tomorrow. All right.
Tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
All right. All right. Let's try this. Ben, it's great that you're here. How are you doing?
Yes. Yeah. I'm good. Dave, Chuck.
Oh, it's going to be a fun show tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got lots of good stuff to talk about. Some news updates have just been released actually today as we record. Having some good topics, and we always have fun here. And also want to welcome Web Bixby in the chat here on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. How you doing, Web? And let's go ahead and jump in and start talking here of the stories. First story. This was a big story this week. Apple is pulling the plug on the Goldman credit card partnership. This broke in the Wall Street Journal earlier this week. They have no other explanation of the fact that this is the final nail in the coffin with Goldman Sachs. They've been saying many times, speculating that they've been losing nothing but billions of dollars with this in the consumer market, really, for the most part. They had this in place until 2029, which was quite a contract. But I think after the billions of losses here, I think Apple decided to actually pull it. And they've been talking about some other speculation with American Express, Synchrony Financial, and all that stuff. Chuck, why don't you start? We had a good discussion on MacWaves Live, but I wanted to extend this because there were some new developments since then. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about this has been all the speculation surrounding it, as to will Apple get a new partner? Will the Apple credit card potentially go away? Why? Because originally Goldman Sachs was the one that seemed to be complaining, and I use that term in the sense that there were board members, there were people that are speaking off the record that just Goldman was not happy with its relationship. No. And Apple was kind of quiet during that period. And now, from the way the Wall Street Journal article has read and everything that has all the other reporting that's come out, Apple's the one that decided to pull the plug, which I think is a very, very interesting thing, because it's very Apple-like that they don't want to be in business with someone that doesn't want to be in business with them. And look, this is an Apple podcast, and we're all Apple enthusiasts, but it's Apple. Somebody somewhere in the credit card business is going to want to do business with Apple, and I think somebody else will find a way to make money at it.
Yeah. We'll hit that in just a second, because there's some speculation already. Jeff, I know you're new at listening to all this. What do you think about this whole thing?
All right, so let me preface this with no kidding. This is the first podcast that I've been on where I've had an opportunity to talk about this.
Yep.
So here goes. All right. I think what's happening is being, at least to some degree, misrepresented by the media. And here's what I think is going on. And some of this is based on information we know. Some of it is me weaving the rest of the tapestry from the threads we have. All right. So Goldman Sachs wants out of consumer-facing business, and they are very actively working to make that happen. Now, is Apple responsible for this? Well, not completely. Apple is definitely part of this because they're part of the consumer-facing business that Goldman Sachs has, and I think Goldman Sachs has very likely mismanaged, or at least failed to recognize everything that was going to be required on their end to provide a viable consumer-focused product. And so now they're doing the fiscally responsible thing, which is realizing, yeah, this isn't going to work. We have to get out. Okay,
Yep.
so what happens next? Well, Apple's probably not completely happy with how the deal's been going anyhow, but before they can really go out and strike a solid deal with another partner to take over, and they absolutely will. The Apple Card is not going away. The Apple savings thing is not going away. Apple has even said that very specifically.
Mhm.
What they have to do before they can start working in earnest on finding that new partner, they have to do they have to follow the rules, and the rules say they have to initiate the process of disengaging from Goldman Sachs. Now, that does two things. It gives Apple the ability to work in good faith to find their new partner. It also gives them the flexibility to work on that without knowing that they are stuck with whatever happens with Goldman Sachs. Apple doesn't want to get caught with their pants down. So,
Right.
so is Apple breaking out of the deal with Goldman Sachs? Well, yeah, but it was going to happen regardless of whether or not they started the process. So they're just doing what they need to do to make this whole thing work. And the media reports we're seeing where it's all focused on this is a thing that's because of Apple. I don't think that's a completely accurate way of representing this. Goldman Sachs was already, I think, having issues before they got Apple on board. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were thinking, if we bring Apple on board, that will fix our problems. But all it did was increase the volume of their problems. And so
Right.
now here they are. And I won't tell you who I think that new partner is going to be, because I actually looked at the show notes and I know we're going to be talking about that some. So I will save that for that part of our discussion.
Yeah, Ben, put your final thoughts on this part of it, and then we'll kick into the new news after this.
Yeah. What Jeff said actually intrigues me. Doing it with Goldman that way would essentially allow them to end the consumer-facing partnership while not having bad blood in business to business. And as a business to business lender, Goldman is a very key player. In fact, as far as we know, some of Apple's own loans could be through Goldman Sachs.
Okay. So a story that broke a couple days later, that actually yesterday or today as we record here. This was from Bloomberg. Bloomberg says that this is Mark Gurman, of course. Everybody knows the Mac pundit for them. That the financial giant would be a first step towards severing the contract, as we all know about this. And the fact of the matter is that Bloomberg had says, as Gurman notes here, is that Apple is not planning to discontinue the Apple Card, because everybody was concerned about that after this news, as well as its high yield savings account. I'm using both. I'm making some nice interest on that savings account. I can't complain much at all. And but this means that Apple does, like we said, needs a new partner, and it might already found one. And according to 9to5Mac, was another story about it. Apple had hosting a job listing in August of this year that's seeking a software engineer to work with Apple Processing LLC, which is an Apple subsidiary focused on payment solutions. That position was then removed in August, and explicitly mentions that the engineer will be working with Pismo, which is a Brazilian fintech outfit that specializes in issuing credit cards, which was recently acquired by Visa. So, and so This is interesting to see where this will go because it's definitely something different from anything we ever thought. I'll throw it right to you, back to you, Jeff. What's your thoughts on this?
There you go. We know who Apple's partner is going to be. Okay, that said, that could kind of fall apart at some point, and then Apple would end up going with I forget the name of the S company.
Synchrony.
Thank
Synchrony
you.
Bank, which
Thank
is
you.
subpar.
Yeah, and I think a deal with Amex directly is probably out. They could do a deal with Citi or Chase, because both of those companies, well, they do have the infrastructure in place already. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Pismo. And I think the job listing was Apple, without wanting to, having to tip their cards and show us their hand. And so they can start working on all this in good faith before the deal with Goldman Sachs gets completely finished, and this gives them plenty of time to work on testing the process of seamlessly moving all of us Apple Card holders from Goldman Sachs to a new service. And from our perspective, nothing will seem to have changed. The only difference is that we will have cards that say Goldman Sachs on the back, even though Goldman Sachs isn't actually behind them anymore.
Yep. How about you, Chuck?
Well, there's only one thing about this. The Visa part is interesting because right now we're working with the MasterCard network through Goldman.
Right.
Yeah, but Pismo can do MasterCard also.
Okay, but you haven't talked about who the bank will be, because Visa and MasterCard are only payment processing machines, not physical machines, but corporate machines.
Good
and
point.
So there has to be a bank somewhere that backs it up, and unless, God help us, if Apple decides to open their own bank. And
that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
at least not for a long time.
That just opens so many regulatory issues, and it's such a nightmare industry from that standpoint.
And it takes so long to go from, hey, I want to start a financial institution, to being able to say, I have a financial institution.
Right. So, and this, a lot of that discussion came from the Mac Voices Live discussion on Tuesday night. So we still are left with the question of who will be the financially backing partner here. I think the detective work is fascinating, and maybe Apple wants to take over more of the process so that they can maintain the experience, but we still have to know who the financial backer is.
Yeah. Last thought for you, Ben.
Okay. I actually have a thought on that. Instead of working with just one bank, they could be working with multiple banks here across the world, because what the Pismo technology essentially does is allow Apple to essentially be the back end for this. Theoretically, they could talk to several underwriters about essentially where their card's coming from, what the interest rate could be, etc.
Yep, that's a good point. It just, and I definitely think this is going to be interesting. There's a lot more to look forward towards the future here, but I guess for now, we've got 12 to 15 months. What the speculation was. Apple hasn't officially commented about this. It's just been a lot of speculation, and there are a lot of trying to determine is this when is this going to happen, and who the other new players are going to be. But I just don't see Apple walking away from this. I just don't see it.
They are not walking away from this.
Yeah, there's just too much. They're too checked in with services. This has been just a huge thing for them. So I don't want them to walk away either. I enjoy using the Apple Card, and I think all of us here do who have it. So I think it's something good. So All right, another story. This one, as Chuck did with me earlier this week, knows how much it bugged the heck out of me, and I think it must you guys too. Is seeing these police departments and news sites spreading misinformation about how iOS 17 name drop feature works. You know, with Apple released iOS 17.1 and watchOS 10.1, it introduced a new name drop feature that was designed to allow users to place Apple devices near one another and quickly exchange contact information. Sharing that contact information is done with explicit, keyword explicit user permission. But some news organizations and police departments, which was bothering me the most, is the fact that they were spreading all this misinformation about how name drop functions. Oh my gosh, important privacy update. You have to turn this off right away. There's too much. This is your kids are going to be exchanging information and they have no control over it. And I think kids are smart enough to know if you see something pop up, I think you know that don't tap it. Now, I will say, granted, I think Apple probably should have set this stuff off by default, just like they do with AirDrop, you know. And but what bothered me the most of the fact of this week was this news story really irked me, and seeing all these police departments doing that, and seeing everybody on social media sharing it with everybody. And I mean, there were many times, and Ben, Jeff, and Chuck know that I was on Facebook and had to make comments and say, "Come on, people, this is not a security at risk." So I'll throw it at you again, Jeff, because what do you think of this?
Oh,
exactly.
The
hand palm. Yes, the hand palm.
Oh, okay. When I first saw this pop up, it was a friend on Facebook that was posting, "Oh, you have to go do this." and I'm like, who's the dorkhead that started spreading this? Because this is wrong and it's not helping anyone. And so I replied and explained, actually, here's how it works. And if you want to turn it off, that's fine, but turn it off for the right reasons, not because someone scaremongered you into it. Yep. And then I start looking a little deeper and I'm like, oh my God, this is coming from police departments.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have enough time in the show for me to get on a soapbox for this one.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you are a government agency, a public safety agency, and people are looking to you for information on how to stay safe, there's an inherent trust level, regardless of whether or not you trust law enforcement in general. When you see things like this, there's just an inherent trust thing that happens for most people. And so these agencies have a responsibility to go above and beyond to make sure that when they're saying, hey, here's this public safety thing about your phone or whatever it is, that they are right. And for all of them to just parrot this information that, from what I understand, it started like with one sheriff's department posting this thing, and then everyone picked it up and ran with it. Okay, yep. Shame on that agency. Shame on them. They should be embarrassed.
Very much so.
Every agency that jumped on and followed it blindly, shame on them. Do you know what investigation is? Have you ever done this in your agency, like investigated anything, ever? And then all of the media outlets that jumped on this, shame on you for propagating it as well. I cannot believe that we, just the little guys here in all this, had to jump in and try and explain to everyone how patently wrong this is. Now, Dave, I do disagree with you on Apple should have turned this off by default.
Okay.
And the reason I disagree with you is because Apple did a really good job of setting it up so that it's so difficult to accidentally share contact information. And so if they had it off by default, this feature would never get used. And AirDrop,
True.
The way it's set up, it's kind of off even when it's on, because you have that 10-minute window thing.
Right.
And so you go and set who you want to be able to AirDrop with. And anyhow, I think Apple did a really good job of putting security measures in place with this. And I'm not sure if you're picking up on this. I am really upset and disappointed with everyone that was involved with spreading this misinformation.
I'm with you. Ben, what do you think?
I will take this a step further. Spreading it was one thing. The fact that since this has been corrected by reputable sources, we have not seen any contractions.
We have not.
Or
None.
yeah.
Oh my God. What is fracking wrong with these people? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I personally shared a 9 to 5 Mac article with the Galena, Illinois Police Department. There were several other corrections within the post. We have seen nothing back.
No, none. Even Wired magazine, which is more of a neutral source compared to, I wanted to provide a source that's, it's open throughout technology. Apple, 9 to 5 Mac Rumors, a lot of the sites that we use all the time, they're Apple centric. But even Wired magazine published something and said something. But and I'll give a shout out to Ken Ray. He shouted me out on his show a couple days ago after this hit. I took a picture on the screen of the local television station in Chicago, WGN, and they ran the story and said this is misinformation. I took a picture of it to show.
oh, good.
It's out there on Instagram if anyone wants to see it. I'm Dave G65 on Instagram. You can see that, and that was just that's what really triggered me the most. I kept seeing it on TV show, the TV news, and I'm like, what is going on here, people?
Mhm.
And at least they were smart enough to realize that after it got reported that this is misinformation. I'll let you wrap it up, Chuck.
I'm not sure I can do justice to Jeff's outrage.
No one can.
Because I think everything Jeff said is true. And once again, we've unfortunately our typical advice is when you see something, go to multiple sources and
Right.
check it out. And this is an example of why that's become even more important. And it's more important to have diversified sources and well-informed sources, because even some of the sources that we would normally go to were propagating the misinformation. So, it may serve you well to go and, even just go straight to the source, go to Apple and look it up. I think, Jeff, the one thing I think you underplayed just a little bit, and this was hard to believe you underplayed anything in your rant.
But I was holding back because of time constraints.
Okay.
No,
But it does seem like it's difficult. I mean, you really have to intentionally accept or have somebody accept your information. Jeff touched on it a little bit, but I think if you read any of the in-depth articles and look at the demonstrations of it, that there's no way that a 13-year-old is going to be giving or getting information that they don't want, or that they didn't intend to give or get. So, because both parties, let's put it this way, both parties are notified. And then if I want to share with Jeff, I have to say, I want to share with Jeff, and Jeff have to say, I want to accept from Chuck. And so, that's the thing. Okay. So what else do you want? Other than just turn it off. And so do we have to have a setting and then go through that gyration? No, that's not even some of our usual whipping boys that I won't name would engage in something that obtuse. So this is just it's a shame. Jeff, I think, or I'm not sure who said it, but I do believe it from what I read that it did start at one police department, and that police department should be the one who is really leading the charge to say, hey, we screwed up, we're human, pay attention to this. And by the way, all you other police departments who followed us down that path, we're sorry, get some corrections out there.
Can I point out the delicious irony in this? law enforcement agencies in the United States. I didn't even wait for you to say yes or no. I just
Go
went.
for it.
Law enforcement agencies in the United States are pushing to reduce our privacy on our devices. And here's an agency saying, oh, you need to protect your privacy on your device. Well, coming out of one side of their mouth, well, the other side is like, hey, we need to have easy access into these devices. I'm really not happy with this whole thing.
Jeff, they never said they need easy access. They need access.
Well, okay. So if they need access, then it becomes easy access because it's either there's a procedure where they say, hey, we need this. And then the manufacturer, the software company, whoever, they push a button and make it happen. And so it's not like they're saying we want access, but go ahead and make it really difficult for us to get that access. They do want it to be as easy as possible, but they're not saying, hey, just make sure every device is open all the time so we can scoop up all the data we want. Although I bet they'd really like that. But they do want it to be as easy as it reasonably can be to get that access.
For them. Yes.
For them.
I agree.
Yeah.
For them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we beat this topic to death here.
I could keep going, but
no, I know you could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we got a lot to cover here. Let's go into the last story this week. This just got released today as we record this. Final Cut Pro and iMovie and Motion and Compressor were all added with new features today. It introduces new features that opt for optimizations. The Final Cut Pro updates for iPad as well as Mac earlier this month are now being launched for all of them. It's organizational refinements like automatic timeline scrolling, and users will be able to keep their clips in view during playback with the view to be able to be adjusted using the keyboard shortcuts or the zoom option. So I'm really glad to see some of these updates and making things even more efficient and more than ever. Some of us still use iMovie because the iMovie is the simpler app, and not everybody wants to spend the extra lots of money for Final Cut Pro unless you're more of a professional. I know Chuck and I and many of us here do use Final Cut Pro, but this is good to hear. I want to think what you thought, Chuck, because you use it for your show every week. So,
David, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I didn't get to read the details of this. I know
that's okay.
This is the first in a long line of improvements we've been seeing. Some of these were hinted at the Final Cut Pro Summit. Again, from the little bit that I got to look at,
Right.
the Final Cut Pro Summit that was held, I think, the week before Thanksgiving. So the fact that those features that were previewed there made it out. I mean, it feels like Apple is still paying attention to Final Cut. There's been a lot of concern over whether that was one of those things that was going to be sort of like Aperture that just eventually went away. I really don't think so. I feel like the video from iMovie and Photo, believe it or not, even Photo Booth, but up through Final Cut is just too. I think it's too important to Apple, and I don't think it's a product they would be ignoring if they just bring out an iPad version and then decide to go away. Doesn't make sense. No. So I think you're going to see more and more of this. That Apple wants to compete, and I will put in a plug. I mean, as much as I love LumaFusion and it's great, and Final Cut doesn't quite have parity with its iPad version. Final Cut is not that difficult to learn. It's super powerful, but at the very core of it, you can do a lot of great things with a relatively shallow learning curve to take advantage of everything or more than it offers. Yeah, but it's a pro level program, just like Photoshop, just like Premiere, just like Logic, just like all of those, that you can do a certain amount easily, and then you're going to have to start to dig to really take advantage.
All right, Jeff, any thoughts? I know you're a LumaFusion plant user. I know that.
I am, and Chuck is totally right about Final Cut Pro. It's an excellent tool, and and I would never tell anyone that needs to use it that they shouldn't. Just so happens LumaFusion is the right tool for me. I am happy to see Apple continue to add new features in and to optimize their apps for Apple Silicon. So that's great. I think if Apple was not seriously committed to the Final Cut package, they would not have taken the very dangerous, potentially destructive step several years ago of starting over with the software. I mean, that was a huge risk, and not something that I think a company would undertake unless they were seriously committed to the platform. And I like that it's a very accessible app, and that now it's available on iPad as well. And I think Apple seriously does still want to be part of the professional non-linear video editing space. So good on them. Also, I was just reading some of the update features that we're getting. This is clearly helping to set the foundation for creating professional content for Vision Pro with Apple's own tools.
Yep, absolutely. Ben, you get the final word.
I mean, I think the underreported thing here is that both Compressor, which is part of the Final Cut suite, and iMovie are going to have that support for exporting stereoscopic video, aka
Vision
3D
Pro.
video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the Vision Pro directly to the iTunes store or the video store, whatever they're calling it at that particular moment.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money, because Final Cut Pro is expensive, it's $300 for one-time license. You know, I've owned that license for a long time, haven't had to pay a dime after that. But you also get $49 a year with the iPad version, and the iPad version might just be suitable for you. But you also could try LumaFusion. So
yeah, and $300 for a perpetual license for professional video editing software,
right?
That's super cheap.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the topics for this week. First off, before we hit beta, I wanted to talk about the fact that Apple today, as we record this, released iOS 17.1.2 as well as iPad OS. It was a small update that was just a couple weeks after the 17.1.1, another bug fix update. According to Apple's release notes, it includes some important security fixes, specifically the updating of addresses vulnerabilities that may have been exploited in earlier versions of iOS 17. They're saying processing web content may disclose sensitive information, and they were aware of this report, and it may have been exploited against versions before iOS 16.7.1. So Apple is already working on the major update to 17.2. We'll talk about in a minute, and it's set to come out actually in December. We're the last day of November this year, so we'll probably be seeing that pretty soon here. So I would recommend going out, updating it. It doesn't take very long. It's a very small update. I took care of that today, so I assume you guys have. If you haven't already taken care of it, I'm sure you will. And I don't think we have much else to say about it unless anybody else has anything to add. All right.
Do the updates. Important security updates.
Very, very. So Apple did seed the iOS 17.2 beta 4, and it's out for the public as well as developers. They made a few changes, including get the default notification sounds for sound and haptics, and we've talked about a lot of the stuff that's already on here. They've even adjusted with the Apple Care settings. It actually shows coverage that they've done. So a few things here and there. There's not a ton of huge features other than the fact that you're going to see some more beta, some more bug fixes and such. Ben, where have you been seeing anything different on your iPhone?
Well, I think being able to change the default notification sound is relatively huge.
Yeah.
I was not a particularly big fan of the one that they were using in iOS 17. Other than that, with recording external video, if you're using a cable that's not up to snuff, it'll now tell you that.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah.
And
I think OWC had released a utility that would do that. So now
Mhm.
having it built in is really, really nice.
Yeah.
But it feels like Apple is more responsive than it's ever been to especially the smaller little annoyances that turn into the really big annoyances that, they slide them back in somewhere into the update process. And I just, Dave, you were talking about the updates a minute ago. They are constantly iterating, they're constantly addressing not just the security things, but some of the other things too as well. And so I just feel like it's an operating system that I'm very comfortable using, especially, in fact, frankly, there are times I feel like I feel a little more secure using my banking apps on iOS than I do necessarily anywhere else.
Yep. So just those came out. The rest of the app devices are still on. The ones that we've talked about. So, but it's going to be interesting to see. I think I think we're very close to 17.2 being released in probably a couple weeks in December. So till then, we'll keep reporting it and let you know what's been going on here. We got links in the show notes for all the changes and anything else. I think, like Ben said, default notification sounds. It was definitely a big change here. So, let's have anything else. Let's go on and move on to some other topics here. We got 5 different things that happened this week that were announced. We're getting close to the year end, and that includes Apple did announce the App Store winners. We'll talk about that, as well as Apple Books, Apple Music Replay experience, as well as the most popular podcasts. So it's definitely going to be another year of what was great for 2023. So we did talk about the finalists in the App Store for a couple weeks ago. So now we've got the actual winners. So for the iPhone app of the year is All Trails, and I don't know if you did, Ben. We did talk about this. All Trails is from everybody says is a phenomenal app for hiking and biking and trail maps, and you use this, right?
Yes, I do. It's
And-
really good.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody else earlier today, and she told me that she mentioned that as I was telling her about the App Store awards, and it seems like everybody who likes to hike and bike and all that stuff, this app is just absolutely awesome.
It's a must-have app. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, you use it as well. So, and it looks like they have in-app purchases. I don't know. Is that I don't know if it's a flat $35.99. Is that you get that? Is that a one-time charge, or do you need that?
Oh my God. I have no idea how much I'm paying to use this app. It's just one of those things that I use.
That may
Yeah.
be the best endorsement of it right there, Jeff.
Yeah. So it must be working for what you need it for, and not have to pay. But it is an in-app purchase. I'm looking out in a link here, and I don't see anything that says anything otherwise.
Yeah, I probably paid $36 for this.
Yeah, well, it's important to you, and you definitely would benefit from it. So, so that's the iPhone app of the year. The iPad app of the year was Press Makeup from Press a Template. That was the one where it does a lot of digital face charting and graphic design and all that stuff. And Jeff, you being the artist, have you used this one? I think you said you did.
No, I've seen it, but I haven't actually used it. And I find it to be really interesting. And the inclusivity. Wow. Am I even close?
You got it.
Inclusivity.
Thank you. I think that's a really big thing in this. And it reminded me in some ways of an app that one of the kids in my life plays with on an Android tablet, which lets them do this sort of thing, but like in a kid's game sort of way. I loved the inclusivity in that, and I see that here, and it just feels like a natural extension of that. And this I would consider to be a much more high-end professional app, and I'm just loving what people are doing with mobile apps for iPhone and iPad.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some there's the iPad app, and I'll mention the Mac app of the year, which was Photomator, which is also a very popular photo editing program, which I believe it's the Pixelmator team. They replaced Pixelmator with Photomator, and this is, or am I wrong?
It's kind of a side project. Pixelmator will always be kind of the Pixelmator team's equivalent to Photoshop.
Okay.
This is kind of like the Apple Photos app, but can do more.
Yeah, this would be more akin to Photoshop Elements.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. I believe I have a Pixelmator license, so I have used it before. It is good. It does work with both Mac, iPhone, and iPad, so you can use this tool on all three platforms. So obviously a lot of it was a editor's choice and very popular and got a lot of good ratings. Chuck, have you used this app at all?
I have not, but I feel obligated to say that what we've so often said, that some of the professional apps, you think you need them, you really don't. And so take a look at this, because I have read the reviews, and I am a Pixelmator user, so I have a pretty good idea of the lineage that Photomator has. So yeah, take a look at this before you go mess with something else that's a whole lot more expensive.
Yeah, it really gives you pro photo editing features in something that is extremely easy to use.
This is one of those apps that every time someone mentions it, I'm like, right, this is a really good option. And I have Pixelmator Pro. I have Affinity Photo. I tend to use Affinity Photo more. And every now and then, someone will ask me, hey, what should I get if I don't want to use Photoshop? And I feel bad because I forget about Photomator, and it is actually a really great option as well.
And as a public service announcement, I just popped it up here on the App Store. It's showing, and today is the 30th of November, that there's a get 70% off the first year of an annual Photomator subscription with a limited time Black Friday offer. So that's a pretty good deal. Darn it, you may have just cost me money, David.
It wasn't intentional. All right, and then the Apple TV app, they actually had an Apple TV app this year. It's a Mubi, MUBI, streaming great cinema. It's a curated, handpicked for movie reviews, and emerging artists and iconic directors and such. And this looks like an interesting app. I have not tried this. I don't know if any of you guys have. It does work on the iPhone and the iPad as well. And it does have some free features, as well as has subscription, which have a monthly and yearly subscription with a trial period. So you could try it out to see if it's something that would meet your needs. But there's so many of these types of apps out there. But this obviously has been very popular and made the top app for 2023. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this or used this.
I feel kind of lame because this is the kind of app that I look for.
I know.
I didn't know about Mubi.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I think you got something to take a look at here. So then finally the Apple Watch app for this year was Smart Gym for gym and home workouts. It's hit home in gym weightlifting. This has been pretty popular among the fitness, and this works across all platforms: Mac, iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch. So this is, I guess, what's been said, one of the more popular health apps out there. Able to create personalized workouts for you and also suggest changes and updates for your progress. So for those of you working in the fitness arena here, this is a very popular app here too. Looks like it also has it's free, but it has some in-app purchases as well. So check that out. I don't say much else about that. There were some games and other stuff. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but we'll just mention them. iPhone game of the year was Hokai Star Rail, which was and then iPad was Lost in Play. Mac app game of the year was Lies of P, and the Apple Arcade game of the year was Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Yeah. And Liza P is one of those things that is definitely a top of the line AAA game.
Okay. So, but yeah, just check the article in the show notes here. But this is all they all get the logos now that shows that they're the app of the year and the game of the year, and they get actually a physical App Store award modeled for the App Store. So, congratulations to these developers. I think that's an exciting thing to see. And I'll just briefly talk about some of the other things here. Apple Books did launch a new year in review feature, so you can actually that was actually this week. Year in review will now allow Apple Books users to actually personalize highlights about the books and audiobooks they read in 2023, and you can add them right in there, mark as finished, change the finish date as shown, and so you actually do some customizations with the books. And then there's a top 5 lists of the top nonfiction books of the year. Oh gosh, Spare by Prince Harry was number 1 for nonfiction, and then Elon's book made it in number 5 here. So then you got Britney Spears, and there's some interesting books here have made the top, and fiction books it shows here too. So it's neat to see that Apple is obviously looking to expand upon the books area here. And then in music, they have the Music Replay 2023 that this does allow subscribers to see their top artists, songs, albums, genres, playlists, and stations of the year from what they've listened to. And it actually shows you how many minutes of music you've listened to and how many songs you've played. And pictures in the article here says you played over 11,357 songs. One of them was your anthem. That's great. So got some nice little customizations here in the music area, which is kind of neat. And then you have a podcast as well. And no, In Touch with iOS didn't make the top. It doesn't look like so, but a lot of the mainstream stuff. It is a crime. It really is. Well, it is a crime because Crime Junkie is number 1.
Yeah,
but it's all the modern mainstream
true crime.
Yeah, I mean, True Crime is just an absolutely very popular podcast, a podcast genre. This American Life has been around forever. Even Dateline NBC and a lot of other news and those types of podcasts have been very, very popular. So it's great to see Apple doing this. I like to see what with all the consumed, everything we consume, you get to see some of this, some of this stuff and. See where that goes when it comes to that. Guys, any comments about that? What do you see?
I'll throw something in because this is in relation to that. Does anybody here, and I know there are only 4 of us, and I know we hardly represent the demographics out there, but yeah. Do any of you listen to any of these podcasts?
I have not. Not
This American
religiously.
Life.
This American Life once in a while I have, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good. I mean, to me, that this is the beauty of podcasting, that just like so many other things, there are some things that are just built for mass consumption, that they're going to appeal to a large segment of the audience. But dig down deep, and depending on how much of a niche you want, you can find something for you. And they're never going to make the top numbers. They're probably not going to make the top 500. But if it's good and it's important to you, that's all you need. Meanwhile, those other things that are built for mass consumption are bringing people to podcasting, and they understand what it is. They understand how to get it, where to find them. And then hopefully at some point they'll start looking beyond some of the mass production stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're indie podcasters, as they call us. And there's so many indie podcasts out there. There's so much great content out there. So that's what's so awesome about podcasting. Like, well, all of us here enjoy doing a podcast every week. And yeah, I'm glad to see Apple is showing all this great stuff here when it comes to that. So let's move on to the next topic here. Privacy screens. Privacy screens have been around for quite a long time, and I have never really liked using one, but they do come in handy, especially for those who travel a lot or on an airplane, and you got prying eyes that are looking over right next to you, and they can see your laptop screen, or even your iPad screen for that matter. But what about the iPhone? Is there an option for iPhone? I was talking to somebody at work the other day here, and they had an Android phone. And he was like, yeah, I got this privacy screen for my iPhone. And I was standing next to him, and I couldn't see it at all. It was blacked out. It was really perfect. And then I said, "Oh, show it to me when you face it right in front of me." It's like, wow, that thing really blacks it out. But early this year, Wall Street Journal had actually published an in-depth report about highlighting instances of thieves when iPhone users were entering their passcode. We talked about that. It was Joanna Stern who went through that whole thing. And that was, really scary how people can reverse engineer and get codes and take your money and all that stuff. And then Apple, of course, sympathized with everybody, but they still follow their same protocols. But the thing is that there is a patent for Apple called Privacy Films for Curved Displays, which is a special screen that covers limits in light emission from a single direction. And there was a second patent that was called Display Adjustments of Angle of View. It is designed for flat screens that can describe how a user can adjust the max viewing angles as well. But what are they going to do when they come up with stuff for the iPhone? Could they put something in built in, or could we put a screen privacy screen on our iPhones? I know, Chuck, you use a screen protector all the time. If there was such a thing, I think there are privacy screens out there now that you could put on your iPhone. Would that be something you'd be interested in doing?
I would want to test it, because I would not want to degrade the quality of my screen to any significant degree. I would love to see something maybe that could be easily attached or removed. And, so that, just as I'm thinking about it here, that might involve something involving a case, that if I had a real big privacy concern about, what was on my iPhone, or what somebody might be able to look over my shoulder and see, then I might do it. But yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off, because anytime you're using any of those screen protectors, because we've all seen them, if you like Dave said, if you travel, you may have used one, and they definitely make it very difficult to see anything from off angle. But it also reduces the brightness of the screen, and sometimes even the resolution that your eye can see through it. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Jeff? Would you use a screen protector that's a privacy screen?
No. I don't even have to think about it. No. And the reason I wouldn't is because, from what I understand, these are all based on polarization. Right. And if you have polarized glasses and you're wearing them, and you hold up your iPhone or iPad or whatever with one of these privacy things on it, your screen's black. So that would be a problem. The one of the other issues for me is, if you're polarizing your screen, then what are you doing to color? And if I lose the clarity and the color that I'm expecting to see, then that I see that as a problem, especially if I'm taking photographs, say on my iPhone, and I want to make adjustments and then share those. If I have a polarized screen protector on there, what is that doing to the images or how is that distorting them? So that would be a problem for me. The other thing, which for me is an appropriate thing, but for other people, I can see where it may not be. If the information on your device is sensitive enough that having anyone potentially see anything is a problem, then you shouldn't be using that device in an area where there's a potential for someone to see your screen.
Mhm.
Right. How about you, Ben? We could wrap up this topic on this.
Yeah. I have actually tested these types of screen protectors. Um, the if the excuse me, the Jet Tech one from the Business Insider article is a very good one. That said, Jeff and Chuck's concerns are very valid.
Yep.
They do degrade the functionality of your phone. If you're using your phone only for business, by all means, get one and get one now.
Right.
If you're using, the reason I don't is that, well, I use my phone mainly as a consumption device, and you're going to have to be looking at it straight on, or you will not be watching your YouTube videos.
That's true. That's true. So interesting stuff here. I think, like I said, we're seeing more and more people with their privacy screens on their laptops, and especially with travel. So I mean, they've been around for many years. But I'll add my comment. I was never a big fan of them either. It distorts things. Just I agree with what you said, Jeff. And it's not something I'm not even a big screen protector fan for your iPhones. I've always gone without it. So I'll stick to the nice glass and just be aware of my surroundings here. So, got one more topic here, and then an app review here or update. The evolution of the iPhone camera lenses. I found this interesting article in 9 to 5 Mac, and I wanted us to go through and to kind of talk about what we've seen, the evolution of the iPhone, and where and how what lenses were found in each model. It's amazing how much evolution has happened with the iPhone over the where we at 2007 was the first iPhone, so we're approaching a long time here that the iPhone has been out here. So every device in the lineup has just absolutely evolved. So we might as well start at the top here and go with the iPhone 15. The 15 has a 48 megapixel camera, and it's got a 1.78 main rear lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 12 megapixel telephoto. So there's some just amazing specs when it comes to the 15. I think we can go all the way down to the very first iPhone, which was 2 megapixels. Now, you guys have had I think Jeff or Chuck, and you guys, you had the original iPhone, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you remember how revolutionary it was at that time in 2007. There was a 2 megapixel rear lens only. And it took okay pictures.
At the time, that was really cool because we were going from like our Motorola Razors,
Yeah,
which the image quality was not good. And then suddenly we had this nice 2 megapixel camera. I mean, it sounds ridiculous now, but at the time, it was kind of impressive.
Yeah,
it was.
You think back. I mean, go back a little farther even, and think about Apple's Quick Take cameras.
Yeah,
I just had to look it up. That gave you 640 by 480.
Yeah,
which is almost sad, by today's standards.
It is.
But we were so excited to have it back then that it's more like now a postage stamp.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And okay, related to that, I love how people are going totally retro with cameras now that we have the ability to connect so many things to the new iPhones, and they're connecting Game Boy cameras and taking what's essentially a postage stamp size photo, and they're just loving these incredibly pixelated bitmap images that are coming off of that little camera.
Yeah, and by people we mean Vitici.
Fair.
Yeah. So we go down the line here. I'm not going to go through every single iPhone, but as years progressed, my first iPhone was a 3G. I didn't have the original iPhone. That was still 2 megapixels at that point. But then you went to 3, then to 5, then to 8 megapixel, and then you keep moving up in the 8 pixel line up to 6, and the 6S and 6S Plus, and then we made it up to 12 megapixel. Even the first iPhone SE had a pretty phenomenal camera. If you remember that, it was a 12 megapixel camera for its lower priced iPhone. And then the 12 megapixels stuck for quite a while throughout the line here. It moved all the way up to the 11, 12, and SE. So it really stuck. 12 stuck as a megapixel camera for a long time. You saw a lot of changes over with the f-stops, with aperture, had much wider lenses, more telephoto and rear lenses, true depth, all the way up to right where we are now, where the 14 was the first. The 14 Pro and Pro Max was the first model to get the 48 megapixel rear lens. That's at the 15 now. So, any of these iPhones, you guys stand out? Even though some of us have the 15, but that you've been happy with. I know Ben, you're still on the 12, and I'm sure you're perfectly happy with it, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, going through this, being of the X-Millennial micro generation, basically I spent my 20s having to carry around both a crappy cell phone and a portable camera.
Yep.
It was really my first iPhone was a 3GS. What replaced it, my iPhone 5 was really the first one where I realized I didn't have to carry around the camera anymore. Yep. Going forward, then you got my iPhone 12 Max, which really does have a relatively professional level camera.
Yep. How about you, Chuck? Did anything stand out in iPhones over the years? And
Yeah, actually, I'll share a story, Dave. Let's see, this is 2023. So at the end of 2022, the company I was working for went through a bit of an evolution, and that was when I left. But at the end of that year, one of the things we did was we pulled together sort of a retrospective over the years from the events we'd done. And of course, the iPhone was the camera you had with you. And so that's where I had used to document a lot of those events. When I started to put the retrospective together, you could just see over time the photos get better. And, and it's like, why was that comparatively, why was that not as great? Because I thought it was great at the time. You don't realize just how used to these great photos we've gotten until you go back and start charting it out a little bit. The difference between what the photos I took at 2021 and 2022 versus 1985, or no, that would not have been right. 1995, 97 into 2000. It's staggering. It's a fun exercise. And now we have so many things that are organizing our photos, and you can go back and find things from the different years. But take them out, export them, and start looking at them side by side, and you will just appreciate not just the hardware improvements, but also you start to appreciate the computational photography aspect of things, as to how much better the colors are, and how everything seems to be just a superior experience. And we're all spoiled because now we look at those every day.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a great article. 9 to 5 Mac, thanks for the reference here. If you want to go back and get even more in depth, I mean, even has goes back to the full camera specs links. You could find out everything you want to know about the what the first gen iPhone had all the way up to the 15 now. It's got some really cool stuff in here. So, yeah, that's great. One last thing I wanted to talk about here is an app update, and this was Google Drive. There's been a lot of press about Google Drive deleting your files lately, but I think that's going to get worked through, and it shouldn't be too much of a concern. But the Google Drive for iPhone finally adds a document scanner built in. It's been on Android for forever, it seems like, but when we've never had it in the Drive, and it's going to be it's going to be on the iPhone and the iPad now. And if you launch the app now, you're going to see a floating action button across the existing right corner, and it allows you to be able to go in and do scanning right into Google Drive. I mean, well way overdue for this app. I mean, I can do that in OneDrive. I've been able to do that in OneDrive for a long time, and even Dropbox and many other file sharing programs. This comes in handy, and that means less and less of a reason to have a separate scanning app, which we've all used for many years to scan things. So all depends on how you do file sharing. Some of us here use Dropbox, some of us use Google Drive, and some use OneDrive, some use iCloud, but iCloud doesn't even have that option either. You got to use third party to scan your receipts and such too. So check it out. It just got updated this week as we record. And is this something you guys use for in your file sharing of choice for scanning, or do you use a third party scanning app?
I tend to use the built-in document scan feature in the iPhone.
Okay.
And then save it. And I'm doing too many steps is what I'm saying. And then I take that saved file and then share it through whatever system. Okay, why isn't this just built into iCloud?
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
I should be able to use the camera app on my phone, and one of the options I should have is scan to iCloud.
And they have it in the Notes app, but then of course you're spending extra steps to get it.
Right, which is what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
that's the only thing I use the Notes app for is document scanning.
how about you, Chuck?
I don't use anything like this. It's an interesting question, but I guess I don't feel like I do that I don't scan that many documents and then have a reason to share them right off the bat, because that smacks of having paper. And it just seems like there's so many things in my life that have gone away from paper that it's not really something. And look, I'm sorry. Okay. If you let me go get my wallet, I'll pull out the card that says paranoid, but you are scanning to Google.
Chuck, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Oh, I know they're out to get me. There's no question about that. But you have to ask that question. You have to think about that, as opposed to what Jeff's doing. Even though he's doing too many steps, he's scanning into the Apple ecosystem. I feel a lot more comfortable there.
I will definitely.
This is why I haven't taken my. I'm sorry, I'm just totally walking all over everyone tonight.
You're good. You're good.
It's Jeff's Rantapalooza show. No, Chuck, your whole thing with not trusting Google, with you wanting to scan documents right into Google Drive, I totally get it. This is why I haven't taken all of my personal email accounts and run them through Google. I know there's a lot of value I would get out of that, but what I'm paying for that, which would be Google now is scanning every single email that I have, that I'm not comfortable with. It's not like I have anything to hide, but at the same time, the clients that I work with, they may not want me sharing some of their information. It might be proprietary for something I'm writing. So does that mean it's still okay for Google to scan that? Well, in my mind, no, it is not.
And Jeff, to be clear, it's not that I don't trust Google. I just have a set of expectations about Google's behavior. And under the heading of full disclosure, I do use Gmail. So I'm a complete hypocrite. I understand that.
No, I have a Gmail account.
Right.
But yeah.
So, it's that we've talked about it a million times. It's that trade-off between convenience and privacy or security, or however you measure it. So I don't want my bank sending me my statements through Gmail. I don't want my broker sending me statements through Gmail. But I don't turn around and scan them into Google Drive either. And for that matter, I don't scan them into to Notes or anywhere else. So
the good thing, the banks will send you links to their site to get your statements. So you have a little more
I do
control.
like that.
Yeah.
One other point I was going to make, working in the enterprise and working for a company, very strict, of course, of security. If you're in the Microsoft ecosystem, you're going to use OneDrive. You can use OneDrive directly and be able to scan the document and scan it and upload it to OneDrive, which is in the private secure cloud for your company. So lot of companies are doing that these days to keep things secure with that. But you're right. I mean, if you just have an open Microsoft account, I mean, on OneDrive, that same thing. It's out for that potential risk for vulnerability. Yeah, like I said, Google is something do we trust? I mean, Dropbox is. Do you trust Dropbox? I mean, do you trust Box? Do you trust any of these other cloud services as well? So you just got to be vigilant of that. But I mean, it's good to finally see Google did this. But again, proceed with caution. In the show notes, we have a link in the article. It's just showing a receipt from Target that they're scanning. So at least it's something like that. You just need a scan to get a reimbursement of some sort if it's an expense.
Yeah, and if you're with a company that has a contract with Google, that could actually be a very good thing. Getting those kinds of receipts into the company, into the company data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point.
So check it out. It's a cool thing, and we're and it's something that does make things of convenience, but be aware of security. So that's what a great show. Appreciate you guys being here this week, and let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's our wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/intouchwithios. A shout out to Webb Bixby and all the others that were in the chat tonight. We appreciate that. You can also watch the live stream with us, as well as you can watch the recorded version of the live stream and all of our audio of our past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Chuck Joyner, thank you again for being here. Always a great pleasure to have you here. Where can people find you?
Hey, Dave, it's always a pleasure to be part of this team. It's a little weird team, but it's a good team.
Yes.
You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where we talk to a lot of really interesting people. Right now, we are doing our annual gift guide series scattered in among our other content. One of the reasons that my Apple savings account is empty is because of all the ideas that Jeff and Ben and Dave and some of our other friends gave me. That's like, oh, that sounds like something I really should check out. So Amazon
Happy to
is
be
making
of service.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Amazon's making regular stops at my house now every day. We do Mac Voices Live, as was alluded to earlier here, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, right here on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. Join us in the chat room. We'd love to have you. And on all of the major socials and even a few of the minor ones, I'm at Chuck Joyner. Again, Dave, thanks so much. It's always a lot of fun.
Thank you. And Ben Rathick, so glad you were able to make it here as always. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Rathig on your social media of choice. Rathig.tech for my writings. On Tuesday, you can typically find me on this little show called Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner. On Thursdays and Fridays, you can find me on the Big and Mac shows on the British Tech Network with some Jeff Gamet guy. I don't know about him.
Yeah, I don't know about him.
Yeah. And lastly, you can find me as a regular contributor here on In Touch with iOS with Dave Ginsburg.
Thank you so much, Ben. Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, as always, a pleasure having you here. Where can people find you?
Well, first, thank you so much for putting up with my big rant fest tonight.
I was prepared.
Okay, at least you're prepared. All right, so social medias, Jay Gamet everywhere, and right now I'm most active on Mastodon and Instagram, and I'm working on getting more active on Threads. And I just realized tomorrow is December. So
It
that
is.
means tomorrow I start my annual Lego Advent Calendar
Oh boy,
daily build online.
buckle up. We're gonna be
So
ready.
well, I bought my Advent calendar back in September when they went on sale, so I wouldn't have to worry about whether or not they would be available come December. Yeah. Anyhow, so for shows, Dave, thanks for letting me be part of In Touch with iOS. I do appreciate that. Chuck, thank you for being so tolerant and letting me be on Mac Voices live on Tuesdays. It's you, sir, are either a masochist or a saint. I'm not sure which.
Both.
Or a bit of both.
Fair,
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
All right. Then Brian Chaffin and I, we do the context machine. Then let's see, the British Tech Network, Thursdays, the big show, Fridays, the Mac show. I think I hit all the stuff I'm on regularly. I hope
did.
so. Anyhow, thanks again. This is always so much fun.
It is. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. We really enjoyed doing it, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Dave,
Nice
you know
job.
why? You know why I like being on your show so much?
Why?
It's because Jeff can rant and I don't have to wrangle him.
I could have
God.
kept going. I was intentionally not hitting things.
You would have been on Tuesday night. I don't know if you would have probably had to wrangle him.
Listen, I
mean,
think, but I think
yeah.
between that and the Goldman Sachs discussion, I think we were all a bit wound up and continue to be wound up.
Well, Chuck knew right away because he saw me, and he said, "I know this is going to get you," and
Yeah.
he got me.
Yeah. When Dave
Well,
gets
guys-
when Dave gets name checked on Ken Ray's shows first thing in the morning, it's like,
I'm like,
it's
wow,
gonna,
God.
it's going to be
Yeah.
a good night.
I didn't even know it until you guys told me too. I didn't get a chance to listen.
Yeah. Oh,
So we have some breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Scientists have are doing a little Jurassic Park. They are bringing back the dodo.
really?
Yeah,
Really?
Oh,
You have a link?
yes, I do.
Just throw it in the chat.
I'm cautiously excited.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
What?
I think
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and drop off the stream here. Go ahead.
Oh,
say
by
goodbye.
live stream.
Yeah. Bye,
Hello,
live stream.
Debbie.
Thanks for being here, Web and